Burma's President Thein Sein got the U.S. seal of approval this week. That seal is a visit to Washington and a meeting with President Obama in the Oval Office. Thein Sein is the first Burmese leader to visit Washington in 47 years. It shows that a decades-long deep freeze in relations is over. Thein Sein became president 2 years ago in an election many considered rigged. He was widely viewed as a loyal servant of the military regime. But shortly after taking office, he started political reforms, eased censorship, and released hundreds of political prisoners. He also accepted a big victory for the opposition led by Aung San Suu Kyi in off-year elections. All that led to an easing of U.S. and other Western nation sanctions against Burma, and eventually this week's visit with President Obama. But the U.S. wants more.
I also shared with President Sein our deep concern about communal violence that has been directed at Muslim communities inside of Myanmar. The displacement of people, the violence directed towards them needs to stop.
Obama was referring to last year's attacks against Muslims, called Rohingya, in Burma's westernmost province. Anti-Muslim riots often led by Buddhist monks in other parts of Burma, and the Burmese army's campaign against Kachin rebels in the north. Note that Obama used the word Myanmar to refer to the country. That's the alternate name for Burma chosen by the military government. Until now, U.S. officials had used the name Burma to show their displeasure. So are U.S. relations with Myanmar or Burma, take your pick, really on a new track? And is Thein Sein going to work to solve the problems Obama referred to in that soundbite? Here with analysis is Professor Tun Myint of Carleton College in Minnesota. A student activist, Professor Myint fled the country in 1988 because of political repression against the pro-democracy movement. Welcome to LinkAsia.
Thank you.
Now, what does Burma want from its new relationship with the U.S.?
I think Burma wants to have a deeper engagement with the United States in my analysis. Because there are so many regional issues or regional rivalries going on with China, India, and also with Association of Southeast Asian Nations. And also the investment, the foreign investment is I think, in a key agenda of the President Thein Sein, and also people who are behind the reform, especially those businesses in Myanmar that are behind reform government. So in that sense, Thein Sein has both political interest as well as economic interest in this relationship with the United States.
Well, certainly that's what Burma wants, but of course this visit also has its critics, and those critics, many of them, say the visit was premature. Why is that?
Well, I think the critics' point, if they mean that the reform is not addressing the issue of land confiscation of the farmers in Myanmar due to these industrial zones designation, also the hydroelectric power dam project, mining projects, I think they are on the right track in that critique. And second is communal violence with the Burmese and Muslim that began 2 years ago, and the way in which the government is handling is also another question that the critique want to address. The third, I think, perhaps the most important in terms of political reform issue in Myanmar is ethnic issues, the ethnic conflicts, which is in northern northern Burma, Kachin state, the ongoing, if you will, war is now engaged in the region, and also in the eastern Burma with Xi'an, and then Karen groups. And so you got a lot of ethnic conflict related sensitivities and human rights violations and displacements of peoples and so on. So therefore, I think the critique are right on in saying that these issues need to be simultaneously tackled with the reform process.
Well, let's stay on that topic. Let's stay on the topic of ethnic tensions. We heard President Obama talk about the ethnic violence in Burma. What kind of pressure can the U.S. put on Thein Sein now to hold his government accountable for the anti-Muslim attacks and the war against insurgents?
One of the important issues from the point of view of ethnic leaders in Myanmar is the constitution. The constitution has 25% require 25% of the army or the soldiers sitting in the parliaments and the government of all kinds of structure, all the way from the national parliament to the state level, because the trust between the Burman-dominated Burmese army and ethnic groups has been long time in the making. That trust process is not at the level where both sides can say, okay, right now we can move on with the democracy and the union of some sort. The second constitutional issue is the question about whether Aung San Suu Kyi would be allowed to become a president in 2015 if she were to be elected in that election. So those are two at least important issues at the national level. And so U.S. can engage those two issues tying to the trade, investment, and whatnot.
Okay. Well, very interesting and a lot at stake. Thank you, Professor Myint.
You're welcome.
Tun Myint is a professor of political science specializing in Southeast Asia at Carleton College in Minnesota. You can learn more about him and his work on our experts page.
Now on U.S. airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories. World news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.